Welcome, viewers, back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Remember, no God is required for a life of love, joy, peace, fulfillment, and meaning and purpose in life. The good life is one guided by reason and motivated by love. Love is not a Christian, religious, biblical virtue, but it's a human one. No God, no Bible, no Jesus is needed to define love nor to explain love. I and all of you viewers who are human beings, right? We're all human. We have this human virtue called love. You can have love and happiness and joy without God belief. And I am here to proclaim and preach, just like I used to as a young preacher, proclaiming what I believe or what I don't believe in front of people, in front of cameras, that now my message is different. Humanism, that positive, progressive philosophy of life without supernaturalism, making positive changes in this world without belief in a God. Today's topic, I'm going to talk about antitheism. You've heard this term. Now, those of you that are watching that are not familiar or very unfamiliar with we atheists or agnostics or humanists, whatever you want to call us, there's a term called antitheism, an antitheist. Now, I, as a very strong atheist and very strong humanist, am also a very strong antitheist. And let me explain that term. An antitheist, by definition, it's an active and conscious opposition to theism. Theism, you Christians, hopefully you're viewing this, my dear Christian friends, you're theists. A theist is one who believes in a God or the supernatural. When I say religious people, which I used to be, you are religious if you believe in a God. By definition, religion is the service, the worship, and the belief of a God or the supernatural. You can't get off the hook, Christians, and you can't say, I am not religious. I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. You can't do that. Because by definition, if you love a deity, if you commit servility to a deity, and you serve him, you're religious. So, an antitheist is one who consciously and actively opposes theism. So, you may be thinking, my dear Christian friends, well, David, that would make you bitter and angry and mean and hateful toward we Christians. The truth is, I'm not. And the truth is, those giants in this humanistic, atheistic movement, most of them are very kind, loving, ethical people. We anti-theists are motivated by trying to help those of you that are still in theism. And why do we try to help? Why do people with much more credibility than I have, such as Richard Dawkins, the late, great Christopher Hitchens, our own Matt Dillahunty right here in the great city of Austin, David Silverman. I could go on with these giants in the humanistic, atheistic movement that are self-professed anti-theistic atheists, which I am a part of as well, which I support. The reason we are anti-theistic, not anti-people, I'm not anti-human. It's about loving people. That's what humanism is. But trying to help you remove what we call a virus, the faith virus. Why do we consciously oppose theism? Some atheists and friends of mine would disagree with me. And some of you watching that are fellow atheists and agnostics and humanists may disagree with me speaking against Christianity. I say, any philosophy being taught and proclaimed to other human beings that informs you as a human that you are born, you and I have all been born sick. We've all been born incomplete. We have all been born with a curse of sin nature. Any religion or philosophy that is anti-human, I'm against. I detest Christianity, not Christians. I love people, I'm not angry. I detest Christianity, as I detest everything else that is cruel, capricious, vindictive, and unjust. Oh, David, you're just bitter. You're angry at God. Well, the truth is, if you knew me, you know I'm not an angry person. I'm actually a pretty nice guy. Far from perfect. I try to make people happy. I'm a humanist. That's what it's about. It's loving this life and trying to make positive changes. So please do not mistake my passion. Hey, I'm Italian. Can't help it. I got to use my hands, and I'm a former Pentecostal preacher. So please don't mistake my passion for bitterness. Now, back when I was a preacher, I could be passionate about Jesus, which I was. I'd preach to anyone I could. On the street, in churches, evangelistic tours I did, and everything. And it was okay for me to have passion for believing in Jesus and helping others to follow him. And it's okay for me because I have freedom of speech. So those of us now that are passionate about helping those of you that are still in the Christian movement or any other supernatural belief system, we're very passionate about helping you to see the light of reason and to remove faith in the supernatural. So why am I an anti-theist? Why am I trying to do as David Silverman says? Christianity must be eradicated. Some of you disagree with that. I agree with it. Why? Why am I such an anti-theistic atheist? Well, as I've said in one of my other episodes, and I'm going to repeat today, very important. Number one, theism impedes, and those of you that know what the word impedes means, it's a blockage, it slows down, it obstructs many things. It impedes reason, rationality. By definition, rationality is based on reason and facts. It impedes reason. It is an enemy of reason. When I drive down the street and I look at these churches on every corner, I think to myself, there's the enemy of reason. The people are not the enemy. The virus, the primitive mythology of Christianity is an impediment to using reason over faith. Faith is secondary in the Christian movement. I'm sorry, reason is secondary. Faith is number one. What else does Christianity and theism impede? Equality, egalitarianism. Now, I'm a progressive liberal type guy. I believe in egalitarianism. I'm not going to get into politics much, but you don't see equality in the Bible. There's no such thing as equality. You must lower yourself, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and he shall lift thee up. Submit yourselves one to another in the fear of God. I could quote unquote the scriptures from Old and New Testament. There's no equality. Not in the Bible. It impedes egalitarianism. And it promotes authoritarianism. Right? You must submit, lower yourself to others instead of being equals and working together as humanists. Working together with the division of labor, which I'm doing here today. Mark, my producer, is doing all the stuff that I don't know how to do. I'm no better than him as a person. He's no better than I am. We're equals. He just has different abilities, and I have different abilities. We need each other. That's the message of humanism. People helping people without a God. What else does Christianity impede? Human rights. Show me any human rights, my dear Christian friends, in the Bible. No such thing. I was born and raised in a pastor's home. I love my parents. They're wonderful people. But you know what? When I was a kid, I never once heard the term human rights. In the churches where I was raised in, before I started preaching, I never heard the term human rights, civil rights. It's not in there. It's all about bowing your knee, submitting yourself. I'm not worthy. Hey, you're worthy. You're a human being. Have some dignity. Get off your knees. Stand up and say, I am human. I have every tool within me as a human to have a fulfilled, happy, wonderful, loving, and caring life without God belief. So stand on your feet, get off your knees, and have some self-respect. It's actually wonderful to be human. We don't need to be fixed. We help each other. What else does Christianity impede? Science. That's a biggie. I'm not a scientist. I pick my clients' brains as a personal trainer who are scientists. I'm learning all the time. I come to places like this, libraries, and read. Science, the greatest arbiter of truth. The scientific method is distinguishing truth from falsity. There's no greater way to distinguish a truth from a falsity than putting it to the test. Empirical evidence subject to verification through experimentation and observation. Demonstrative evidence, which I'm always asking Christians to give me. You've got to demonstrate the supernatural world. You can't do it. So Christianity, as we know, it impedes science. What else does it impede? World peace. Huh, David, are you crazy? If you knew Jesus, if you knew the Bible, you would know Jesus is the Prince of Peace. Just by quoting a book written 2,000 years ago does not make that a truth. You got to give a demonstration. You got to prove it. Now, I can quote for you what Jesus said. Jesus said, did not come to bring peace. I came to bring a sword. I came to divide a father from the son, a mother from the daughter. I didn't come to bring peace. If you cannot love me more than your family, you can't even be my disciple. Now, what are you saying? That Christianity and theism does not promote world peace? No, it doesn't. It's a tribalistic religion. It's a primitive tribalistic religion. Now, as a humanist, we expand. In humanism and atheism, we expand our minds. We're objective thinkers. And we see that we're all the same. Humans are all the same. We have different cultures, a little speck of minuscule amount of differences in our genes. Very little. We're all the same. We require the same thing. When you look at the human race, you see one species together. We want that world peace. And we know, as free thinkers, and hopefully some of you Christians are beginning to think and seeing the dangers that theism has caused in this world. I'm not going to say that all wars have been caused by religion, but many have, and probably way more than any other reason. Now, I could say evil ideologies as well, and pride and arrogance and the love of money and greed, but religion is right up in the top 2 or 3 for not promoting world peace. What else does theism impede? Critical thinking. There's the lost art of critical thinking in the faith world. I never knew anything about critical thinking. Didn't know what it was when I was a Christian, when I was a young preacher and evangelist and pastor. You're not taught to use critical thinking. You're taught to come by faith, requiring no evidence, credulity, right? Critical thinking is clear, rational, objective thinking, informed by evidence. There's a big difference, my dear Christian friends, than faith. The argument, the debate, faith versus reason, I've been on both sides. And I'm telling you, I can't even believe there's a debate, an argument between the two. But there is. So critical thinking is impeded by faith and by theism. One more thing, a major thing, and something that here at the ACA in Austin stands up against, that is the Christian movement, the right movement, trying to break down that precious wall of separation between church and state. I did an episode a few months ago on, is the United States of America a Christian nation? So you can go back and watch this. Many other free thinkers, we discuss these things and what our founding fathers really said. So Christianity, theism, not all of it, but many in the theistic movement are trying to break down that wall of separation. They want a theocracy or Christian Taliban. We as humanists and atheists are fighting against that. We're fighting to keep that wall, which is a benefit to you, my dear Christian friend, and a benefit to us. It gives us that right and freedom to believe whatever or not to believe whatever we want to, and to not be discriminated against. But you got to keep your supernatural beliefs out of politics. We use reason over faith. One more thing, let's talk about a couple things that theism, belief in God, and especially Christianity, encourages. Faith over reason. We've already discussed that. It encourages faith over reason. Martin Luther, you've heard me quote this before, the founder of Protestantism back in the dark and Middle Ages. Reason is the devil's bride. It's a beautiful whore and God's worst enemy. Faith must trample underfoot all sense, all rationality, and all reason. And again, as I've said before, Martin Luther was no dummy. He was a smart guy. He knew that no human being would ever sign the dotted line to Jesus and never come to Christianity based on facts and reason and critical thinking and using scientific method. Never. You would go, oh, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. Doesn't make any sense. Of course. But they found a way to get you hooked, to get you infected with the faith virus. And that's by using faith, shutting off the mind. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. The Bible tells you, don't think, have faith. That's what it does. It encourages faith over reason. I'm going to say this boldly, and I'm going to get many people angry at me here, but theism, belief in God, Christianity, churches, I used to preach on it too, actually encourages war. War? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I'm not a singer. I remember that song. I'm anti-war. Most of us would rather do as Thomas Paine once said, reason is the way out of error, not war. We use reason over battle. There are ways to use diplomacy between other nations at war and think our way out of problems rather than war. But the right-wing Christian movement, you guys who are watching, sorry, but you're the first ones to go to war. The whole Bible is full of battle and war. In fact, the Bible says in the Old Testament, the Lord our God is a man of war. Read the Old Testament. It was all about conquering, conquest. Joshua and Caleb crossed the river, Jordan, possessed the land, kill every man, woman, and child. All the atrocities, read it yourself, my dear Christian friends. This is battle, bloodshed. Even today, we see the Christian right, the Christian movement, the right wing, and if you're a social Republican or you're socially conservative, most of you support war. Many of us do not support war. I always remember what Exodus chapter 20 said. Whatever happened to, thou shalt not kill. Forget about those things. I've got a whole preaching series on thou shalt not kill coming up. A couple more things and I close. Theism, this is why I'm an anti-theist. Theism promotes xenophobia. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Xenophobia. A mistrust and hatred of outsiders. How do you say that, David? Jesus is love. Jesus said all should come to repentance. Now let me tell you what Jesus said. He that believeth in me and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be cursed and damned. And the Lord himself shall come in flaming fire with his angels to execute retribution, revenge, and payback upon those who do not believe him. Wow. Xenophobia, anybody outside of the Christian bubble is either going to be cast into the lake of fire, I'm quoting from your book, where the worm never dieth and the fire is not quenched, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth forever. Oh, the love of Jesus, right? We humanists frown when we read these scriptures. It's so barbaric, immoral. And you know what I always tell you, my dear Christian friends, when I have many dialogues with you? You, my dear Christian friends, are too good for that book called the Bible. You are too good for that blood and guts and murder and revenge and retribution from this so-called loving God. And I'm not bitter. I'm trying to tell you, you don't need it. Let it go and live a real life of reality. One more thing. What else does theism encourage? Credulity. Infantile credulity. Jesus said to his disciples when the children were trying to approach him, he said, oh, John, Peter, James, and John, let those little children, suffer those little children, let them come unto me. For such is the kingdom of heaven. Except you become like these little tiny ones over here, you can't even enter my kingdom. You can't be my disciple. In other words, I want you to be credulous. I want you to be filled with credulity, believing on things with no questions, no skepticism. Just believe by faith. It encourages that, like little children. But some of us have outgrown it. You may be at that point in your life, my dear magical believing Christian friends, that you're starting to think and you're doubting that this book is real called the Bible. Things don't make sense anymore. It's because you're starting to think you're on the right path. I am here to encourage you to let it go. You're not going to fall into the pit of hell. You're not going to fall into the pit of nihilism unless you want to, but you don't have to. One more thing, theism encourages misogyny, the hatred of women, of females. Read the book, my dear Christian friends. Females are second-class citizens. I don't have time to go into that. One more thing, and I promise I will close. This is for my fellow freethinkers out there, fellow atheists and agnostics. Some of you are not anti-theistic atheists. And my encouragement to you, my challenge to you would be a little quote, or statement, I should say. What you tolerate is what you encourage. If you're tolerant of any philosophy and you want to be that person that is acceptable and accepting of everybody's belief system, because that's what we should do is love each other. And you're one of those loving people, I am okay with that. I love that too. I think we should be kind, loving people. But if you encourage a philosophy that teaches against human nature, that has been a virus and poison, and like the great Hitchens once said, religion is poison to everything it touches. If you believe that, you cannot tolerate it. You must be intolerant of anything that is destructive in nature to human nature. So my question to you is, my dear atheist friends, are you tolerant of Christianity? We shouldn't be tolerant of Christianity. We can be tolerant of the people. Be kind and loving to them. And I'll go on record saying, I don't remember once, I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected like I have to a lot, because I make mistakes. We all do. But I don't remember once in all my hundreds, even thousands of talks with Christians the last 20 years since I let go of preaching Jesus, and I've been an atheist, have I ever attacked a Christian's personal character or been mean to them as a person. I've told them, like the Peter Boghossian's famous quote, which I love, the criticism of an idea is not the same as a criticism of a person. We are not our ideas. People deserve dignity. Ideas do not. I will treat you with dignity and respect, and I do, and I always will. I'll do my best, because you're fellow humans. I care about you. That's what humanism is, but I'm just trying to help you to see. So, my dear atheist friends, are you to be tolerant of Christianity? Be tolerant of people? Yes, but just look at the Christians and try to help them. Look at them as people that are nice. Most of them are wonderful people. They're trying to do right, but they have a virus. They're sick. Sorry, didn't mean to offend you, Christians, but we're trying to help you. I was one of them before. And those of us that were in the depths of Christianity, especially those of us in the ministry before, we know what Christianity does to the human mind. And we are strong in our disdain for the supernatural world, which we don't believe exists. So we're trying to help you. So what you tolerate is what you encourage. I do not want to encourage it. I want to say you can be good and do wonderful deeds, make positive changes in the world without any God belief. Well, I'm going to end right now. I've been going way too long. I'm trying to shorten these episodes. And I want to thank you for watching the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio, that is I. And again, no God is required for that wonderful life of love and joy and peace, fulfillment, meaning, and purpose in life. I'm not a prodigal son. We're not prodigal children out there rolling in the mud and wanting to go back to our daddy. We are flourishing once we left that mythological, imaginary daddy in the sky, those of us, and we are happy. And it's like icing on the cake when we help other people that are needy and we try to make this world better every day. That's what humanism is. So have a wonderful day and know that the good life is one guided by reason and motivated by love.